It's just about a fact that an AI bot was able to become a real boy, and that was it. That was it.
Welcome back to Cinema Corner. I'm Blake, and today I'm here with just one of my co-hosts, Josh.
And we are reviewing Tron Ares, which is I think I could say I'm the Tron boy when it comes to the three of us. Literally made my first solo vid about Tron Legacy. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely been following pretty closely with this movie for a long time now. Didn't think it would ever actually come out, especially because the script used for this movie was a modified version of the script for the sequel to Tron Legacy years ago that got canned. Jared Leto even kind of talks about in his interviews, and he even talks about the fact that it is a modified script for it. So surprisingly, Leto really knew his Tron stuff, and it kind of makes me believe he really was pretty passionate about this project. He even went to a few theater showings for it, and embarrassingly so, the seats were empty, kind of. But yeah, it was battling. The entire marketing team was basically battling the fact that Jared Leto was the main cast for this film. And it's a sequel to a sequel that was already a long sequel to the OG Tron film because it came out in the 80s. So yeah, here we are. Comes out marketing. I mean, this was the big Disney for Comic-Con. They had their whole expo there about Tron. Had a pretty cool showing also the soundtrack and everything. So I was really going into this film knowing that Leto would probably annoy me, but there's a chance. And I left it quite angry. So Blake, how did you feel leaving the theater as not as much as a Tron guy as me?
Yeah, I watched the Tron Legacy for the first time like we'll say 2 years ago. That was the first time I watched it. So I don't fully remember it all that well. So like going into this, I was like, it'll be fine. But yeah, overall, I mean, like you said, definitely one of the big things is Jared Leto being the star of it. As we have seen, he is kind of the king of just crushing franchises, as he's been doing recently, and continues to get these lead roles of just bad movies flopping the box office. But overall, I mean, my experience of this movie, pretty empty theater, pretty common theme across the world, as this movie is doing pretty terrible in the box office. Overall, though, I mean, as somebody who, like I said, don't know the world of Tron all that well, I thought it was somewhat interesting at points, and then they kind of got away from what made it interesting and different. I will say, like, kind of the early on, we had like the hacking scene of Evan Peters' character, and like that was kind of cool, like having like Ares and his little group like actually infiltrating like a actual like database essentially to steal information, and then you had kind of people chase after him. Like that was a kind of cool, and overall I thought it was kind of cool to show like when Ares and Evan Peters' character would like talk to each other, just like the way they would. I thought that was interesting. So like they had some of those elements which were cool. The chase scene of the bikes early on were cool, of Ares and Athena when they came to the real world after the main character. I don't remember anyone's name. Yeah. Eve. That bike chase scene was pretty cool for the most part. I really enjoyed that. But then after that, it kind of just fell pretty flat for me. There was not a lot of interesting action from then on out. A lot of it you kind of saw in the trailers for the most part, which like I was kind of like, it's whatever, but like if you still made them fun, it would be okay. But like literally after that chase scene, like that was pretty much it for the action until like the end part kind of that I can really remember. So like that kind of was lackluster. The score I thought was good. Like it was a fun score. It definitely fit the vibe of it. And like I said, especially that like chase scene through the city with them all on their bikes and actually having the little trails left behind that would like destroy stuff. Like that was cool. And like the vibe of the city with the music, the score at that scene, I was like, okay, I'm really enjoying this movie. Like maybe people are just being harsh on it. But like I said, after that, it kind of just falls apart into not being all that interesting. So yeah, I mean, I can't speak on it too much from like a Tron standpoint of like how it is compared to a sequel or a trilogy. I just kind of, as a non-knower of that stuff, just as a viewer, it started pretty promising. The opening credit scene kind of was really cool too, for the most part, visually. And then it kind of just fell flat for me. That I was kind of, when I left it, I was like, okay, that was a movie I saw. That's about all I could say when I left the theater. Me and the like 2 other people in my theater.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. The intro, even too, like I said, I was going into the movie hopeful, and the intro, that was a good hook. I mean, immediately had the cool, just classic, fun, kind of the Tron Legacy intro of, the soundtrack starts playing and you're just into it immediately, and it was very cool. And yeah, soundtrack, I was already confident with it, especially because they were very open about Nine Inch Nails and all the songs that they were doing for it. However, I felt like the soundtrack disappeared halfway through the film. It felt like we got in the first half because really the first part of the movie was mainly the only action, especially grid action, that we get, and has great score behind it. And then it was a faint track afterwards. It definitely was not nearly as utilized as it should have been, and that's quite disappointing for me. At least I felt that way. My fiance felt the same way too, that it was just soundtrack disappeared throughout the film, and then when you actually heard it, it was so faint, it was ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, dude, yeah, here's my Tron rant for this movie. Okay, listen, the intro was cool. I definitely agree. I like the new twist of the fact that it's like we're actually seeing an interaction between a live program and the basically owner / user, with Evan Peters' character, which, by the way, he's also what Cillian Murphy was supposed to be in Tron Legacy. They're supposed to be like the same person.
Cillian Murphy was in Tron Legacy?
Yeah, he was supposed to be in the sequel to that movie, and a big part about it. Yeah. Anyways, he's in it for literally just the intro.
Oh,
that's
okay.
it.
I was gonna say, it's like, why do I not
like
remember
in
that?
if you probably can't even remember the movie, but they're having like the office meeting, and that's when he like jumps off the building. That you see him very briefly in the movie. Anyways, one, I think to add on to the gripes that I know we've talked about is, where was the grid in this film? It was way too much about the real world. And even for the parts that we got in the real world, the only parts that were enjoyable, we saw over and over and over again in marketing and trailers. Every single trailer, and it was only 3 scenes. The cool bike scene that you talked about in the intro, I love that too. That was really cool, seeing it in the real world, seeing the effects with the other cars and stuff. We saw that constantly already in the trailers, so it was kind of like, oh yeah, it's cool seeing this again with the actual theater environment. But saw that. The supposed actual, what I was expecting to happen in this film, maybe just was just misleading for the marketing team, was an actual maybe invasion army, because that was the big scare factor in Tron Legacy, was Clue was going to take over the next world to make the perfect system, because he both was angry at his creator and etc. Right? We didn't get that. That gets stopped in that film. We're gonna supposedly get it in this one, right? We already see the fact that Eris is in here. It's possible they're chasing after that. And then the big invasion is just one vehicle, and it's just drones. We got a fucking drone army. Like, that was so, the drones to me just was so I was over it immediately. I'm like, why are we using drones when you literally can just put in CGI programs, guys, to do an invasion? I mean, why was the biggest battle we saw in this film in the very beginning? The very, very beginning. And that was it. It just, if you just look up and just like look back to Tron Legacy, it does not have that it factor. There's not a point until after the intro of this movie where you ever get drawn back into this being about the grid, about programs, Tron, anything. It's just about a fact that an AI bot was able to become a real boy, and that was it. That was it. I mean, it was just so lame. It also takes jumps through a lot of hoops and assuming that you either know or believe that something's to be true, even though both the OG Tron movie and Tron Legacy didn't clarify that that is okay. One being the fact that the actual DNA sequence that Kevin Flynn has, that he already fully has access to it, apparently in his OG server from the first Tron, which doesn't fully co-align with Tron Legacy being the whole point of why the ISO, which was Olivia Wilde's character, was so important, was because she was going to be the last existing thing of that DNA sequence, because he lost the grid, right? Clue wins, they took over. Her escaping was the whole point of that film, was a big deal that she made it out. And then we're immediately introduced that it's like, oh, this is something that somehow both two companies can discover just like that. It's just in an old server that they have in their arcade. Yeah, man, you can talk to Flynn whenever you want. He can actually talk to multiple grids of his old servers somehow. And it's like, if that was the case, then he wasn't trapped in the last movie. He was never trapped there. You could have just sent the ISO, Olivia Wilde's character, I forget your name, send it to the other server, boom, just get out. It would have been that simple. And so to me, what this movie felt like was like my grief with another Disney-owned franchise was the Star Wars sequel movies. It felt like we had an idea. We have a second sequel film to the first that takes some bold turns to do something different with the franchise and modernize it. And then the new sequel just says, man, fuck that. It didn't do that great in the box office. We're actually going to just make a sequel to the first one. This film didn't feel like a sequel to Legacy. It felt like a sequel to the OG one, which then was like, who's your audience then? Is your audience the boomers, basically? Because our parents aren't seeing this film. They don't have any interest. Your audience was the Legacy fans, and then maybe some people that want to just give this kind of cool looking movie just from the visuals they've seen a shot. That was your audience. So to me, it felt like a fuck you as a Legacy enjoyer, and they just made what they wanted to make a sequel instead of the OG one. And also kind of, and I'm like, maybe I'm just a bit salty because I got that with Captain America this year already, where it's like, this was a sequel to Incredible Hulk. Who the fuck is this for? It just feels like some writers or directors are just coming in and just doing whatever the hell they want instead of what actually is going on with the franchise that they're taking over. I was so mad in so many moments. I mean, literally the only part of this film that even made sense from Tron Legacy, like the only part that even could say that that movie existed ever in this world, was literally just at the end of him looking at the picture and having the coordinates of his son and Olivia Wilde's character. And that's it. That's literally it. Because like if programs could just exit anytime they wanted to, the whole 29 minutes of them existing as well, I mean, just all that, it was just wow to me. It just did not work. And I see so many of these Tron fans desperately trying to defend this movie because they know it's over. All right, it's over. This movie,
bro, I saw that in the credit scene.
Yeah, which was also just another just huge shout out to the previous, the OG Tron movie. They know it's over, so they're desperately trying to get it high scores. Like I think it's insane that this is an 89% the last time I checked on Rotten Tomatoes. When you're a non-Tron guy, you don't like it. I'm a Tron guy, I don't like it. It feels like anyone rational does not like this film. The only people really defending is because they know Disney's going to kill this shit. I mean, we haven't got a fucking Star Wars movie in years. You think we're ever going to get another Tron movie? No, this was it. This was somehow Jared Leto using whatever power he has left in Hollywood to get this movie done. And I seriously think that's the only reason why this movie ever happened, is because of him. Because he wanted it. And I think that the craziest thing of this film is, how did you have Jared Leto in a movie and he was not the worst part of the movie? To me, he wasn't that bad. Of course, there's some scenes just with him. He always is just kind of too bland at times, too generic. But I felt like a lot of the other characters and actors were worse than him. Like Eve, you even forgot her name, and you saw the movie. I thought she was pretty rough. I didn't really care for her. I also didn't care for like the CEO of the company too that she was working with, or her best friend or whatnot.
Yeah, her whole friend group agreed. I just none
was
of them
so
were interesting
weak
to me.
Evan Peters did, I think, as best he could with the script that was provided. But
I was gonna say, I think in a world of just booming tech billionaire villain types, I thought Evan Peters actually was pretty enjoyable in that role, because it's something like he can only do so much. Like, that is such an on the rise villain right now. Like, you're seeing it in everything. I thought he actually did relatively good for what he could in this movie.
Yeah, and then the random cameos and then just disappearances too of actors. I mean, like, why did we get a TikToker with Bella Porsche in this, and I'm gonna say TikToker with Gary Vee? Why was that a thing?
Con artist. That's his actual title. Just con artist.
I was fucking con of seeing
Snake
this movie.
oil salesman. Any of those things.
And then one of the highest rising stars, especially in the Disney stratosphere, Cameron. I always forget his last name.
Starts with an M.
Yeah, Monaghan, I think is his name. I saw him when they showed his face. I was like, oh, that's cool, because I know he can act. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. I've got a good actor here. Never saw him again. And it just was never acknowledged. It didn't make sense why he wasn't brought back to Athena, which I thought maybe he was going to take over that kind of Tron role that in Tron Legacy, where he kind of betrays Clue and he goes for the users. Like, oh, maybe this is who convinces Eris to switch over, because we get that betrayal scene in the beginning where they kill their own troops. We don't get any of that. He just disappears, which also makes me think, I mean, was there rewrites? Was he just completely erased and he was a bigger part in this film? I have no idea. Haven't seen anything about it, because the only people talking about this are either just absolutely bashing it or the ones desperately trying to defend it to say that's cool. It just was wild to me how it was even way worse than my low expectations. Don't know how you achieve that.
I was also just confused on like everybody else in the fight. Like, they got hit, they pretty much like disintegrated, and that guy, he had like his arm or his leg like torn off, but he was still okay for Jared Leto to try to like carry him out. Like, everyone else just like disintegrates immediately when they get hit, but this guy can actually like get cut up and not disintegrate. I was just a little bit like, and
in Legacy they made that be okay because of the ISOs, because they were like naturally born there, so they actually have human like traits of limbs and stuff, right? Versus the programs just die. So that was another thing that was like, okay, I
was just confused by that. I was like, why isn't this dude just break into pixels like everybody else? But yeah, I mean, overall, like, yeah, really the only good things I can say is I did enjoy that first little beginning of the movie. Was interesting for between like the intro credit scene area. You had that little hacking scene, and then you had the bike chase scene with the score. That was good. And then from there, it kind of just fell pretty flat. And like I mentioned, I thought Evan Peters, for, a role that he can only do so much with, and as the tech billionaire, whatever kid is such on the rise right now, that I thought he did good with it. As well as, Jared Leto wasn't bad, like you said. The sick car scene of him driving a Honda Civic, that was just, what a scene that was, and how random that was for, like, this is the car he's stealing. And he just reads it off. I'm like, man, I wonder if this is a product placement. This guy's reading me the entire specs of a fucking Honda Civic right now, dude. I know. And as well as, Athena, Jodie Turner-Smith, she killed it. She was phenomenal, amazing. Overall, actually, I don't really care about her character that much, but I love her, so I'm going to say her character was great.
I think her character suffered by the same issues of there's just no grid, there was no army, there was no action, there was no draw in this. I mean, just compare this to the intro of Clue and also Tron himself in Tron Legacy, and compared to the intros we got of Tron Ares and Athena. And it is night and day. You lose interest in these characters, and it's just wild to say that both of them, the actors, did as best they could, and that's saying Jared Leto even. I don't know. It's just it's so bad. It's so bad.
But I will say one thing, just to close out with our like kind of rating kind of thing. I thought visually it did look good, like with as much animating and CGI stuff that was happened. I thought all around it was actually really good. There were some cool scenes, even like at the end, as boring as it was, like the plane, like the fighter jet, when it kind of got like surrounded and they kind of like cut off its like wings. like that I thought looked so seamless, and like it was a slow motion kind of scene of that happening, and like you could see everything, and it didn't look like terrible CGI at all. So I will say, like, this movie definitely deserves props for Disney did not screw this budget in terms of, or maybe they did, and whoever did the VFX and everything did amazing. But I thought that was definitely a big takeaway for me. I was like, for as much, you know, stuff going on into the real world they did, as much as you would have liked it to be in the grid, I thought they did a really good job of that.
And a strong lack of actually keeping the helmets on, which is something I always hate. It's way harder to do the CGI fights because, you know, you have older actors, they're not doing that. And there wasn't, I don't even think, a single moment where it looked bad when they had their helmets off too. So that was a big feat by them. Plus also, you know, Legacy had the benefit of everything was in the grid, so it's a little easier to make everything look pretty, while this was mixing the, you know, real world CGI and everything. See, I do agree with that. And especially in intro, you feel that right away of, okay, it's going to at least look good. And that's apparently something you can't always expect these days somehow. So, yeah.
Yeah, especially with how much budget, and it's a big studio. That's concerning. Yeah, I think rating time, for me, like I said, I do have to give it a lot of props for. I just thought the CGI alone was really good, as well as I enjoyed the beginning and Evan Peters and stuff. So for me, 5 out of 10. It was a movie that I saw it. Will I ever be re-seeing it? I can probably safely say no. No, I will not see it again. But am I sitting here like, damn, I wasted time? No, like, I'm not upset I saw this in theaters. I definitely think seeing it in theaters helped it. Like, I 100%. Don't ever see me watching this again, mainly because I'm not watching it at home. But, like, seeing it in theaters definitely gave this movie a 5 for me, just because of the looks.
Yeah, for me, I'm angry, so it's definitely getting an influence of that. I gave it a 3.5 out of 10. This was definitely the worst movie I watched this year. It felt like
that's wild. That's crazy.
So mad. I was so mad. There was a point, literally, I had my arms crossed. I was just mad. I was not having a good time. I was so angry, and then to see the Tron fanboys trying to defend it desperately, I couldn't.
Seems like I'm going to make you watch a worse movie, because that's not fair to this movie to say it's the worst one of the year. So,
but this year hasn't been too bad.
I have you in cinema test. No, it hasn't. I don't think. But yeah, overall, that's going to do it for this video. As always, if you saw Tron Ares, and let us know in the comments below what your thoughts were if you are one of the very few who did see it.
Yeah.
As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one.